Our first question is, which client is at risk for the development of a sodium level at 130 milliequivalent per liter? Options: the client who is taking diuretics, the client with the hyperaldosteroidism, the client with the Cushing syndrome, the client who is taking corticosteroids. Here the question is regarding the sodium level. As we all know, the normal sodium level is 135 to 145 milliequivalent per liter. In our question, the patient is having sodium level of 130 milliequivalent per liter. That means sodium level is less than 135. That means patients having the condition of hyponatremia. So, we want to check what are all the conditions that may leads to hyponatremia to the options. So, through checking out the options they are given, the client who is aldosteroidism, the client who is having Cushing syndrome, the client who is taking corticosteroids are risk for developing hypernatremia, that is increasing of sodium level. So, our answer is the client who is taking diuretics are at risk for developing hyponatremia. That is, there is a risk for reducing the sodium level in patient taking diuretics. So the answer is first. Our third question is, the nurse is caring for a client with heart failure. On assessment, the nurse notes that the client is dyspneic and crackles are audible on auscultation. What additional manifestation would the nurse expect to note in the client if excess fluid volume is present? Options: weight loss and dry skin, flat neck and hand veins, decreased urinary output, increased BP and respirations, weakness and decreased CVP. So, our question is that the nurse is caring a client with heart failure. During the assessment, the nurse notes that the patient have dyspnea, that means difficulty in breathing, also a crackles, that means a audible heart sound. So, what additional manifestation would the nurse should expect if the patient having excess fluid volume? If the fluid volume means the patient is increasing, we should know what are all the symptoms the patient may have. So, if the fluid volume in the patient is increased, patient may have cough, dyspnea, tachypnea, tachycardia, elevated blood pressure, bounding pulse, elevated central venous pressure, weight gain, edema, neck and hand veins distension, altered level of consciousness. These are the main symptoms. If the patient is having fluid volume excess, the patient may experience or this patient may exhibit. So, through the options, weight loss and dry skin. Patient is having weight loss and dry skin. That means patient fluid volume is reduced. Flat neck and hand veins, decreased urinary output also leads to patient is having decreased fluid volume. That's why flattened neck and hand veins can be seen. Or a urinary output also decreased when the fluid volume is decreased. Then weakness and decreased CVP. Weakness is a common symptoms that may exhibit in fluid volume excess or fluid volume deficit. CVP is decreased when the fluid volume is decreased. So, in the third option, we can see increased BP and respiration. So, BP and patient respiration also increased when the fluid volume of the patient is increased. So, the option 3 and option third is the right answer. Our next question is, the nurse is assessing a client with a lactose intolerance disorder for a suspected diagnosis of hypocalcemia. Which clinical manifestation would the nurse expect to note in the client? Options: twitching, hypoactive bowel sound, negative Trousseau sign, hypoactive deep tendon reflexes. So, in the question, we know that the patient is having lactose intolerance and there is a chance of hypocalcemia. How it is connecting? Because the main lactose containing foods are rich sources of calcium also. Due to lactose intolerance, the patient is unable to take lactose containing foods. that may leads to decreased calcium intake, and that may leads to hypocalcemia. So here we know that what are all the symptoms and signs of hypocalcemia, then only we can select the right option. The main symptoms of hypocalcemia, before that we should know what is the normal level of calcium. The normal level of calcium is 9 to 10.5 milligram per deciliter. So the calcium level below 9 refers to hypocalcemia. The main common symptoms related to hypocalcemia includes paresthesia, numbness, hyperactive deep tendon reflexes, positive Trousseau and Kowarski sign. Hypocalcemia includes may increased muscular activities, excitabilities, muscle cramps, twitching, tetany, seizures, irritability, and anxiety. Gastrointestinal symptoms like increased bowel sounds, motility, and hyperactive bowel sounds, abdominal crampings, diarrhea. These are all the symptoms of hypocalcemia. So, the above and below options we can get. The right answer is twitching. All remainings are the symptoms of hypercalcemia. In hypercalcemia, the patient may experience the below symptoms. Twitching is the only one symptoms that in experienced in hypocalcemia. So the answer is twitching. The next question is, which client is at risk for the development of a potassium level of 5.5 milliequivalent per liter? Our options are the client with the colitis, the client with the Cushing syndrome, the client who has been overusing laxatives, the client who has sustained a traumatic burn. So, here the question is regarding the potassium level. We should know the normal level of potassium. As we know, 3.5 to 5 milliequivalent per liter is the normal range of potassium level in our body. So, through the question we can get the patient is having potassium level of more than 5, that means 5.5. That means patient is having the condition of hyperkalemia, increased potassium level. So, we should know what all the condition leads to hypokalemia and what all the condition can be leads to hyperkalemia. Then only we can answer this question. So go through the options. We will get client with the colitis, client with the Cushing syndrome, client who has been overusing using of laxatives have a chance to loss of potassium from the body. Loss of potassium means patient having a decreased potassium level. That means patient have a chance to hypokalemia. And the last option, the client who has sustained a traumatic burn. You should know in burns, in metabolic acidosis, and in certain conditions like trauma, sepsis, respiratory acidosis, the potassium shifting may takes place. That means intracellular potassium can be leads to shifting of intracellular potassium into extracellular space. That means the potassium inside the cell can be shifted to outside the cell. It may be an interstitial space, it may into vascular space. So the inside the cell the potassium is reduced, and outside the cell, that means in bloodstream, the potassium level is increased. In such a condition, trauma, burn, and metabolic acidosis, sepsis. So our answer is 4. The client who has sustained a traumatic burn have a chance to increase the potassium level that may leads to hyperkalemia. So answer is 4. The next question is, the nurse is reading a client's record and reads that the insensible fluid loss of approximately 800 ml daily. The nurse makes a notation that insensible fluid loss occurs through which type of excretion? Options: urinary output, wound drainage, integumentary output, the gastrointestinal tract. So, we know that insensible fluid loss means The fluid inside the body is losing through our skin or through the lungs as a perspiration, and through lungs when we are breathing inspiration and expiration, there is a chance of loss of fluid through the air, and also skin there is a chance of perspiration. So the amount of insensible loss through integumentary system is approximately 800 ml daily. So the correct answer is integumentary output. All others are a normal measurable fluid volume loss. So it is sensible. That means we can measure, we can count the fluid volume loss through all other method. Insensible output, our perspiration, our breathing, that means our lungs, through our lungs the water is losing, the fluid volume is losing. That refers to the insensible fluid loss. Approximately 800 ml per day is the normal range.